Right. Oh, hello, colleagues. I'm not sure whether anybody can hear or see me now. I might actually be talking to myself here. That wasn't meant to happen. I was meant to sort of stay on stage because I do actually have some more slides I wanted to sort of share with you and hopefully answer some of the questions um, that actually we didn't get a chance to ask there. But actually, we've still got a shed load of you logged on live. So, assuming you've not gone off to put the kettle on, we are going to keep the stage open till 3:30, so we can still do some of the network. And so, hopefully, I'll pop around these tables and see you shortly. But I did want to sort of give you an update from Din's perspective, and as I say, answer some of the questions that were going to be coming up, or we didn't get a chance to cover in the stage piece there. So let me just share this with you. So a little update from us. Uh, from Din's perspective, this was quite challenging because again, we were all due literally with a week to go at Microsoft. It was chocker full, and then COVID hit, and then woof. So all of these things that you see here that we were due to have, we should have been in Seattle a couple of weeks ago. We were due to go to Lego next week. We had all of these different events and things like that. All went overnight. People say about what's happening with your operating model. Our operating model just went. And literally for that first week, we're thinking, wow, this is it. This is the end. Nobody's going to want to be part of a disruptive innovation network when COVID's come along and done way more disruption than we could ever sort of think to do. But actually, after that week, two things changed. One, we let go of all of this stuff that you see on the screen here now in terms of, this is stuff we no longer can do. And we quickly then moved on to, right, actually, what can we do? And so there's only a small team of us that sort of work within DIN with some great associates. And very quickly we had to sort of pivot, as it's called in the tech world. And actually, I think our lessons around this were similar to yourselves. Actually, you can do a lot of things quickly. And actually, the ability to do things digitally is going to give us way more opportunities. So our mission hasn't really changed, and this is to help you make sense of disruption, be more innovative, but more importantly, get ready to grab the opportunities to build back better. And a lot of you will be sort of familiar with that as a campaign, and we really subscribe to that because ultimately, if we can rebuild in a better way post-COVID, then you're going to have even more social impact. So some of you will now be aware we've got a website. Never had a website because, to be honest, we never really got asked for one, but we've now got one. There's a huge amount of contents on there in literally just 5 or 6 weeks. We've got a thriving and growing LinkedIn professional page, and we've got our sharing platform Slack, whereby members can come in and sort of ask questions and share information and documents and processes through that. So if you haven't been on those, please go on there and have a look around. We've launched our first research papers as well, Future for Housing IT Services, which we'll be having a session on in the coming weeks. I think that challenged a lot of people's perceptions around what the future of housing IT departments and services are going to look like. Some really good recommendations in there. I recommend you have a look at that, and it's certainly something for exec teams to be debating. And then hopefully later on this week, we've got our guide for executive teams on adopting cloud computing, and it's a really in-depth piece. So much so we're having to serialize it. So you're going to have the first elements around the business case. So again, we are still producing some really good content there. And I know this is probably now what we sort of seem to have got known for in terms of we established Dincast, which was our way of keeping some conversations going. It was keeping me sane in terms of we looked to interview 20 leaders for roughly 20 minutes about COVID and get their leadership and innovation stories. And I must say, I'm really proud of the content that we've got on there. We've got some fantastic leaders talking, sharing. You won't agree with all of them, but if you have viewed them or you had listened to them as a podcast, feel free to share them in your organization. These are top leaders, and they've got some really interesting views to share with your organizations. Great to play if you've got some team meetings and then you want to have a discussion with them afterwards. And we've done over 20 leadership team meetings. Basically, I've appeared in your homes, and we've had a chat, just similar as we've had with the speakers before, about COVID response, the impact of that, and in particular, what comes next. And I'll try and, and for those also who were interested in actually capturing your COVID response, we've also had our self-assessment framework. I think about 6 or 7 organizations fully sort of complete that. And that's been a great way of capturing, whilst it's fresh in your mind, what's happening with the organization. So I just thought I'd put a summary slide up because we couldn't take all of the questions, but this is some of the learning that's come from our research and conversations with yourselves, with your leadership teams. Still happy to do some of the leadership teams. So if you've not had the opportunity or the pleasure, let me know, and I'm quite happy to pop along. But I think Amanda mentioned this in her opening piece, in terms of, we often refer to it, the staff are working from home. Drop that phrase. They're not working from home. They're at home trying to work, and every one of them will have their own individual circumstances. And after 12 weeks, it's probably getting a bit tough for them. Whether you've got, your homeschooling, or whether you are, you don't have good Wi-Fi connections, or whether you just don't have the facilities to operate from home, that is really, really tough. And I think that's an area we've got to explore to ensure that we get that right. I think you're going to have to think about and look at workplace analytics, and we're going to do some more work around this. As leaders, you're going to need to have that oversight on how this is affecting your teams and your organizations and particularly your people. Sorry, there's a man from Amazon just delivered at the door there. Oh dear. Anyhow, and personal well-being, we've touched on that. I think the other point is we're now moving into a low-touch, no-touch economy. And what are you going to do around that? What's your strategy going to be, for example, where you're going to be going into people's homes where you're not going to be able to touch be very frightened of you coming in, and we're going to have to develop that. There's some really good examples emerging around that. We've heard about you're going to have to redefine who your vulnerable customers are, because, as I say, they're going to have to be more greatly understood, and some of them are going to have different ways of being connected. You're also going to have to deal with a massive amount of variety of demand from your customers, your partners, and your stakeholders, but particularly your staff, because not everybody's going to want to go back to how they were working before. And some lessons that we've learned around, actually, you've been in crisis management mode, and crisis management mode has been very much top down. Your business continuity plan will have kicked in. You'll have had your gold, silver, bronze response. But your crisis recovery, which is hopefully where we're now moving into, is going to have to be bottom up, and that's going to require a different approach in terms of how you engage with your staff and the communities in which you work, because that's going to impact on your decision making. Normally, organizations will make decisions. Make decisions are something that takes a period of time. You'll review evidence, you'll test around that, and we moved out of that. We were in taking decision mode because urgency was required. At some point, we're going to go back to making decisions, and this is where it gives you a chance to reevaluate the type of organization you are and how you want to make those decisions. And a really good measure that was shared with me a couple of weeks back around, from an organizational perspective, just put it into 2 baskets. When you're sitting down and you're reviewing your organizational purpose, you've got one basket of heritage. What makes us who we are and what defines us? That's your heritage. That's what we want to keep. And actually, what's baggage? And I would imagine there's going to be quite a few big bags of baggage that will come out of this. And, put that in there. And this is your chance. You will never get a better chance to get rid of that baggage. But also, as leaders, remember, there are going to be many, many different futures as we go forward, because we don't have all information. We don't know what's going to come next. And therefore, long-term planning is going to be very limited. So don't waste too much time on that. Just get to that next waypoint, then evaluate, and then define what that next future is. You might have 4 or 5 different futures over the next 18 months to 2 years before you get to anywhere near what a new normal is. We've got loads of online events coming up. We've run 3. We've had really, really good attendance rates of these, way more than I expected logging on, and quite a few in watching us in catch up as well. From a personal perspective, Obviously, I've took the opportunity to get some use out of my dinner suit because I'm not going to get it anywhere else. Also, some lessons around kit and sort of coming into sort of video conferencing. Get your laptop up. Don't put your laptop on the desk looking down. It gives you so many chins. Get a good microphone. That's a Blue Yeti that you've got there. It's the size of a small child, but it's brilliant and people can actually hear you. And as I say, there's some great Zoom video trainers out there. And yes, they're my little small weights that I've been using. So what's next? So we mentioned about Build Back Better. Our focus remains the same: TLC, the technology, the leadership, and the cultural element around this, all wrapped up in we promise we will be the very best organization for you, helping you understand what corporate innovation is taking place out there, predominantly outside of the housing sector. Our view is we want to bring that in and help you guys build better businesses. One of the things we will be getting off the ground in partnership with the CIH will be Write Your Own Future series. As I've said in a number of EMT meetings, we're not in a position where anybody's got any reference points or has been here before. So therefore, what you design your organization or team or department around is up to you. And what we'll be looking at will be some of the big issues that I think organizations are going to need to digest and take views on. Firstly, what's the future of the workplace? How does that look? What's your future of the office? The whole piece around people and culture and how you train your leaders, and how those leaders and decision making are going to have to be fundamentally different. The technologies that you heard David and colleagues mentioned before, this is a chance to try lots of the new technologies out. But a big push for us has got to be about sustainability and climate change and the whole circular economy. We can have a revisit of this. And then finally, the whole piece around how do we collaborate? Who do we collaborate with? So what's coming in the next few weeks? You'll have a member survey coming out in the next 2 weeks, and we'd really love to get your feedback around that because, as I say, we've had a transition. We want to know if we're on the right track there. We're going to produce a lot more events coming through. We can do more online. It's not my perfect way of doing things, but we can reach a lot more people. And ultimately, this is your membership organization. So if you've got colleagues, now's your chance to get them involved, And we will have 2 new technical networks being launched, and these will be in addition to your DIN membership. So one will be looking at prop tech, and looking at the way the technology is going to be able to change and transform asset management. And then from a very successful workshop that we ran around intelligent automation and artificial intelligence. So for those who wish to get a deeper dive into that, those will be the sub-networks for yourself. And coming in the autumn, I take a strong view. We're going to need very, very different leadership styles and models for a post-COVID world, and we want to play our bit in training the next generation of leaders. And therefore, we will be creating the Dinnovators Academy. We've got some amazing leaders coming in to run different aspects of that academy. Some of you might have seen some of the speakers that we had. Bruce Daisley from Twitter will do some stuff, and as I say, this will be very much focused on the post-COVID skills that we will actually need. And finally, we'll be going international as well. As a result of working on the International Housing Summit, there is clearly a lot of appetite for innovation in the social housing world outside of England and the UK. And we've had lots of requests for people to say, can we network with your members within DIN? So we'll be looking to bring you some international flavour in future sessions like this. And if you haven't already signed up for it, along with the hundreds who have, then please get on board with the International Housing Summit. I put lots of events together. This is one of the very, very best ones. And again, now you're familiar with the Remo platform, you can come along and enjoy yourself. And as I say, meet and network with some colleagues. And that's it. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you found that of use. We've got a lot of learning to do, as you can probably tell. As I say, the room is still open. So if I now shut these slides, you're still there. I'll pop on a table and I'll come and say hi to you. Please let us have any feedback and stay safe. Thank you very much. And thanks, Diana, for looking after us.